This works. And right now, I shouldn't have put mascara on, but I wanted to feel pretty. It's springtime. Anyway, it's Carolyn. The reason I've decided to video this is because um, I have an idea of how to get Earthship built for our Earthship communities for healing programs all over the country, probably all over the world. I'm going to start with the native people because right now in Canada, people are building them, but they're not legal because they're fighting with the hydro companies and all the regulations and yada yada yada. You know how it goes. And consequently, in the states, it's some states, some not. But on the native communities, they're in Canada. The Six Nations have already built their first Earthship, and they're teaching other people to do it. But I'd like to have Earthship bubble communities with 12-step programs, a 12-step church that is just like an AA meeting. You can do anything you want. It's spiritual. You can bring your guitar, bring your music, bring your poetry. Like when I had family healing groups in Vancouver, I didn't focus on AA or anything because a lot of people lie in AA and say, "Oh, I'm an AA or an alcoholic" when they're a drug addict. So what to use? Why don't we just call it as a 12-step family healing groups? And the reason I started family healing groups in Vancouver, it was really awesome. We had kids. I had the art therapy. We had to separate partners, and they had to go in one area and one the other so that they didn't do it. And I had a miracle happen at one meeting. It was awesome. This little girl, she didn't want to stay in the art therapy group because I believe in family healing. If you can teach a child that you're healing, they will pass it on. What's the idea of going to an AA meeting or an NA meeting or a CODA meeting or an ACOA when we can just go to a meeting and we can bring up topics so we can divide and talk about CODA, ACOA issues, whatever we need to talk about, and just bring some videos and stuff. I saw that done in when I was in Washington, and they would just separate in the and they don't do that in Canada. It's very blue card, blue card, and in Nova Scotia it's worse. And down here, I'm from away, so they hate me. They even broke my windows when I tried to help a gambler. So yeah, it's very controlling down here. Even though my grandma's from here and my last name is McCrae, it doesn't count squat. I got a kick out of this guy from Scotland. He says they're more Scottish than Scottish and more clannish than the Scots. So I think they're back in the 1700s. Anyway, the reason I wanted to talk to you today is because I have a dream. And if you know anything about me, I'm dyslexic ADH. I've been a millionaire 4 times. I'm more interested in chasing than I get married. And I marry guys like my dad who are controlling, functional, and abusive. And right now, the closest thing I have to a boyfriend is my dog, which is God spelled backwards. It's safer. I have 2 dogs and 2 cats now. But I live in Nova Scotia. I had a 7,000 square foot house on the beach in White Rock. I missed my house, 14171 Marine Drive. And I had 3 other bed and breakfasts. And in the wintertime, they were healing centers. And in the summertime, they were bed and breakfasts. So consequently, I'm holding my arm, and this I gotta switch hands. Whoops-a-daisy, here we go. Ha, that's better. So what I'm trying to say is that what my dream is this time is I've always been interested in Earthships, but I never found a guy like me. I've built 6 houses, and I've owned a lot of property, and then I can talk to my friends. I've had to share with husbands each time. The last one was a Mormon. I should have figured out he was a pedophile, and he was into kiddie porn, and I should have figured out that his first wife was only 15, so there was definitely something wrong there. But I have this attraction, so me and Whoopi Goldberg could switch stories on the cost of marriages. The last one cost me $37,000, and then I had to start dividing everything. And when I was down at ground zero, on the day of 9/11, he sold almost $1 million, $500,000, and he took my Disney stock, 70,000, and sold them on the day of 9/11. That is not a smart idea. But that's the way it was. I was stranded in the United States. So I ended up in New York, and they ended up calling me the Canadian Angel. I don't know how that came about. But the street people love me. And I'll never forget, one day they knocked on the motorhome, and they said, Carolyn, you're just one of us. And I said, what do you mean I'm one of you? And they said, well, you don't look through us, you look at us. And all I did was when I went home, when I was down at St. Paul's, I just pulled up their blankets and their boxes, make sure they were warm because they were sleeping on the air vents that come up from the subway. And then I was, first I was at the fire station at the end of Wall Street, and they loved me. They lost 25 men. There was always funerals. And I have a funny feeling, anyway, the guy that sings Happy Days, I met him I think I met him when I was down there. Anyways, so that's funny because he said he was going to be a famous singer. And I ended up losing my spot at the fire station. So I ended up down, I was going to go home. I had been there for, oh my God, for almost 4 months. And Christmas was coming and I was getting lonely. And I had no place to go because the firemen were all coming back. And I was losing my spot at the fire station. And even the girls who were the crazy lesbians who worked on the cranes, pulling down Ground Zero, they put me in a spot and I lost it too. So at 2:00 in the morning, I said to my higher power, it's time I go home. And I put on, I had a CB and I went on there and I said, I was in local 236. I was a painter in the union, a height painter. If there's anybody out there who's got a spot for a motorhome, please let me know. And I decided I was going to go. So I said, God, I'm going to go. And my higher power's kind of weird. On the way out, there was a post office just before the bridge. I was going out of Manhattan. And on the right-hand side was Fulton's Fish Market. And my higher power said, turn right. And I said, are you crazy? I've been kicked out of there 4 times. And so finally I said, okay, God, leave me alone. My boombox was going off. So I turned, no, it was actually right. And I turned right, and Pete was there. And he started raging at me, this little Italian. What the F are you doing? And I started to cry. And he said, what the F are you doing? And so I told him. And then he put a note on the motorhome that I'm property of Fulton's Fish Market. And it's on the web. And so little did I know I got adopted by the mafia. God works in strange ways. So I was down there for a while. And I had an appointment to go to Bill Clinton because the FBI said I needed a tag to carry. Because at that time, everybody had to be tagged. And so I went to Bill Clinton's office, made an appointment to go and register my society. And he was in Harlem. And I also went to the church there as well, which I really enjoyed. The old ladies with the big hats and the feathers and the free food. That was good. Loved their singing. They said the king had been there preaching at one time. So where I'm coming at now, I'm finding that my new mission. See, you don't know this about me. In 1976, I was going to university to be a teacher, and I wanted to work with special needs. So I was working with Native children in Puskapay. And so one day, my girlfriend, her father was Dan Supernault, who was actually the head shaman for all northern BC and Alberta. And then they asked me to come to their roundhouse, or their clubhouse, and I thought I was in shit. I thought I had done something nasty at the school with the kids, or I'd crossed a boundary, because I do talk too much sometimes. So it was so kind of weird because... So anyway, I went there and they put me in a chair and there was a circle and there was all these elders around. And then they started walking around with this, now I know it's sweetgrass. I thought, oh my God, I must be full of the devil because they have to get rid of it. Then she put a pair of moccasins on my shoes. And that vest that you see in my picture was given to me. And Dan said he had been to the sweat lodge, and the Great Spirit said he had to adopt me. And the Great Spirit was going to use me, and the world will never be the same again, and I was going to go on a great journey. I thought he was crazy. Little did I know that I would be by accident in 12-step programs. I did it because I'm very it was all for my own means. I was in university chasing credits, and they were having drug, alcohol, sexual abuse, family counseling programs put on by Edgewood, which is a drug and alcohol program put on. At that time, it was McLennan. Anyways, it was a log mill. And so consequently, and they used the Bradshaw approach, which had an 85% success rate. So consequently, it was kind of weird because I was chasing credits. And part of the program is we had to get into 12-step programs to understand, because I studied sexual abuse, family counseling, and, and family counseling, and 5 programs totally. And so consequently, the professor said there's nothing worse than a counselor sicker than her clients. So we had to get into programs to understand how it works, and little did I know, I gradually learned. And they also said we had to go see a counselor to work on our own shit. Well, I'm kind of cheap. And Ray Parkinson's free. He was on the board of governors for Simon Fraser. And he's also in 12-step programs. He was recommended by my doctor, who was also in 12-step programs. So I wanted to go to somebody because I thought, oh, well, they're going to think I'm crazy. So that's how I got into programs, through the back door. And and then I said to Dr. Parkinson, there's no CODA meetings because this was 1985 and there was no ACOA. So I said, start a program. So I started a family 12-step program, which involved using anything. And that was quite out of the ordinary because people didn't like that. But I found I had one miracle. I'll never forget this one meeting. And this little girl, she was 5 years old, and she didn't want to sit with the other kids doing art therapy. She wanted to sit with her mom, and she kept interfering, and her mom says, you can talk at the end of the meeting. And her mom was talking about being a sexual abuse survivor, and the little girl said, and at the end, when she finished doing the serenity prayer, Mommy, that happened to me. I'll look after you. They won't hurt you like they hurt me. Little did she know that her partner was abusing her daughter. I got to switch arms. This is hard. Here we go again. So little did I know that her daughter. So what I'm finding, the miracles that come out of if you have family healing programs. So I believe this is a family disease, and all programs should be open. I believe there should be 2 programs, 12-step family healing programs and 12-step abuse programs for people that have been abused physically, mentally. Because abuse is abuse, at least for me. It just comes in different forms. And if you can talk about the pain and do artwork, because I'm an art therapist, it will go away. But my new dream is to start 12-step villages because we're living in a pandemic and it's going to get worse. And the only way we're going to survive is in earthship houses. They're really good for earthquakes, earthquakes, probably. I was going to say tornadoes because I live in a hurricane place, hurricanes, and make sure they're on a hill. Make sure that if you're in a tornado or a hurricane place, that you have a sod roof, and make sure it's about a foot thick so the wind can't take it off. And a membrane so that the dirt doesn't get into the water and you can still store the water. Mind you, that wouldn't have much because dirt has a habit of flowing to the bottom. You just have to clean it every once in a while. So my life is all about giving back. And I find when I first started the program, I had cancer, fibromyalgia. I was in a wheelchair, 350 pounds, paralyzed on my right-hand side. And I beat it all. Every time I worked through the sexual abuse and the pain and did my step work and went back to Ontario to where it happened, I just became a walking miracle. And I'm continuing to be a walking miracle. So I want to give it back. And I gotta let you know, there's 3 ads on the web. I used to be dating years ago. I don't do that anymore. I'm 75 years old. I'm not into dating. My arm is getting sore again. So I'm not into dating. But in 1975, what am I saying here? Oh yeah, in 1995, 2005. I was still, when I first moved here, I was thinking of dating again. So I went on this stupid line, and it was 2017 or 15, there was a guy. In those days, Google would let you take a picture, and we could figure out who they were, the real person. Google took out face recognition. I hate Google right now. They're trying to take down my websites. They're nasty. They want to charge you. It's all about money. They're getting rid of Google Hangouts and all that. That's sad. That's so sad. But anyway, I know how to work the system. But anyway, there's this scammer. He had 50 profiles, And if anybody knows how to take them down, because I reported him all over my blogs, mind you, my blogs, I have a lot of Russians following my blogs. I don't know why I'm so famous in Russia. But anyway, I haven't been doing blogs lately. But anyway, because Google started, you can't cut and paste any of your blogs. You have to do them inch by inch. Screw that. So consequently, if you can't cut and paste them, whoops-a-daisy, here we go. If you can't cut and paste them, that's no fun at all. So what happened is that this guy who had 50, I was on G+, and I got about all kinds of women thanking me. One woman got taken for, what, $10,000? That wasn't nice. And so what happened is I found out that he didn't like that. So he started putting WordPress that I'm a scammer. How can I be a scammer? I don't charge anything. I never ask for money. There's no way. But anyway, there's two on WordPress and one on a blog. And this one company phoned me up and they said they would charge me $10,000 for each one to take it down. Who cares? Anybody that knows me, I don't charge anything. So that's a bunch of crap. So where I'm coming from today, I have a new game and plan, and I've been putting it all over. My dream is to start bubble communities for 12-steppers. And what I mean, it's kind of like what they're doing in Norway, where they have circle communities. They have the store, the school, everything, jobs, and they're all integrated. And I want to start that. The reason I want to start 12-step group, and I want to start with the natives because they don't have any problems doing anything they want on their land. And a lot of the native people, they live in houses that are crap and falling apart. It would be nice to see them have nice homes. Now, it costs $70,000 to do a sort of a basic place. But I'd like to see with the sod roofs for anybody with hurricanes and tornadoes. And make sure you're on a hill or something because we're going to have 300 feet of water when all the ice melts. And I don't want to see that happening. So I'd like to see this happening all over the world. I don't know if you do, but that's my dream. So if we have these bubble healing groups and we have a 12-step church, it's just like a 12-step meeting, except you talk about your gratitude. You can be Buddhist. You can be anything you want. I tend to be I don't know what I believe. I just believe in this gut feeling I have. I find I talk to God all day. He gives me premonitions. He's got me doing this project. And every time I give up, when I trust my higher power, I get the miracles. And like when I was saying when I was supposed to turn right, I'm dyslexic and ADD, so I'm kind of like a son. I go all over the place. George, what's his name, that used to play God, his wife was very much like me, so she'd love me. I discovered with Dr. Parkinson, with my dyslexia and ADD, she says I'm on the, what is it now? I have a photographic mind, which I didn't know. He says, just think, Carol, in your fourth year university, you can't read a word out loud. So I have a photographic mind. He said I was on the same level as Einstein. I'm a genius. I never thought of myself. In fact, in school, they used to put me with the weirdo kids because they said I was not right. But I've been a millionaire 4 times and didn't marry it. I made it. I used to be a height painter for Dillingham. I used to make $60,000 in 3 months. I worked 1,000 feet in the air, liked the money, worked for 3 months, went to school because I made too much money. And in those days, that was 1976, I worked on Site 1, Site 2 with the dams. I worked for Dillingham. And I used to sit and watch the grizzly bears come out of the insulation. So life is good. So I'm going to go on about my mission. My mission right now is to start these healing villages all over the world. And if we can help the world and heal, and we have these groups, and because it's a bubble community, we can keep the COVID down. Because there's going to be, this is just the first round, honey. And we're going to have the ice melting, so you better be on high ground because places like Florida are going to be underwater. Parts of Texas, Nova Scotia here is going to be definitely underwater. It's half underwater now. Parts of the world are going to be underwater. So you better find high land. And then if we do things in groups, we can heal. See, like me, when I talked about this, my father was the top real estate broker in Canada, D. McRae Real Estate. My grandfather was the vice president of IBM, and my uncle, Hugh McKinnon. You know those Bibles you get in the hotels? That was my uncle. He did that, the Gideon Bible. That was my uncle. And he also built Mother Teresa's house. So I come from a family of philanthropists. I think it's in my genes. And we tend to be A personalities. So to me, my dad used to say, if you could play Monopoly, you could be a millionaire. Well, I did that 4 times. And then I had to share it with guys that were abusers. Because if I found they were really nice. I had the nicest dates in the world till I got married. They gave me flowers. I should have married Alan Margulies. He was Jewish. And I was a Jehovah's Witness who became a Mormon. But I didn't want to hurt his feelings because he was Jewish. And so I actually found him a girlfriend. But he would have spoiled me rotten. I always married the losers. So I like the way my psychiatrist said. He says, Carol, you have a Jesus Christ complex. So, and my Native friends said, so now my dream is to heal the Native communication because we really screwed them over. And a lot of them are living pretty destitute. And when I was going through New Mexico, I just couldn't believe it. This poor lady, I was talking to her, and she had a store. And she says, the chiefs take the most of the money and they get squat. Well, that happens in Canada, too. And they live in dire need. Right now, I'm just living in a small room, see? Yeah. And, see, and I used to own this hotel. I bought it, I was going to have a healing center, but they don't like outsiders down here. I bought 7 properties, clear title. I also bought an apartment block in Dartmouth to turn it into a healing block for teens, but for some reason, the drug dealers didn't like the idea of me starting a teen thing, and they burned it down with me in it. And then I bought a 6-plex over here for women, and the contractor turned out to be a contractor, and when I put him in jail, it's just a coincidence. He burned it down a week later. So I'm finding down here in Cape Breton, if they get mad at you, they just burn your house down. That's not nice. And if you're from away, that is like putting a cross on your head. I might also be a black person in Georgia because that's the way they look at people that are from away. Even though if I had family from here originally years and years and years ago. But in the meantime, I'm trying to talk about this mission I have. The mission I have is to build these healing villages. And the reason I want them, because my family, when I started talking about the family patterns, because nobody wants to talk to me anymore. I am the black sheep. Boy, I am. And being I even got cut out of the will. Wow, that was really interesting. And the funniest thing is my dad stole 3 properties off me, so I would have been just getting back some of the money he stole off me. And he did, it's the irony of it, when I was doing family patterns, his dad did that to him, or at least he felt his dad did that to him. So we repeat the patterns of our family if we don't look at them. The greatest gift is I'm happy. I don't need to. I don't need a man to make happy. All I need is love, and I take every day as it is. And what I'd like to see in our 12-step family villages is whole families getting well. We could do artwork there. We could turn them. We could do all kinds of internet stuff. We can set, right now in Norway, that's what they're doing. And so right now in California, they're letting a lot of the drug people who are what they call, not the people that were the drug dealers, but the minor ones out. There's a guy that I was talking to that, not going there, that I'm not sure if I really know him. You know how people tend to, they play up who they are and then you find out they're not who they are? That's just life. Because I like to believe everybody until proven opposite. But when I start tracking things down that they tell me, because I'm one of these people, I'm a digger. I'm just like my dog. I'll dig it until I find my bone. And if they lie to me, I give them first chance, second chance. Like I lent my brother a bunch of money, and he's always promising to pay me back. But it will happen when it happens. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I always look at anything that I do as a gift, and then I don't expect anything. Like my whole life is a gift. I believe we were born in heaven and we come down here. I'm starting to believe in reincarnation, because I do feel at one time I was from what is it now? I was from Asia, and I had a horse, and I can't think of their name right now, but they were nomads outside China, and they dressed pretty. And I know the name, but right now it just misses me. So it'll come to me when I get talking. So where I'm coming from is if we can have these villages all over this world and use earthships, there won't be any emission. Actually, the insurance companies would love it. I'm going to start hitting on the insurance companies to start lobbying to do earthship because for one thing, with all the money they go out, they don't make any money that way. So it's a win-win. If we do the earthship stuff, they won't blow away like they do in Oklahoma and stuff for the tornadoes. We can set them on, make sure that they're on high land, and that way they don't get flooded. And the hurricanes, that's the same. And if we have the sod roofs and we have it sort of like a C shape so the wind will go right over it, you don't have to worry about that and if you take the windows and you have those, like in New York when you have a store, you can have those pieces of steel that protect, and that could protect the windows as well. So that would take their cost down, which would be a miracle. And it costs $70,000, not for and it takes a group of about 40 people, and it takes only 2 weeks to build. So if we start helping each other, so one helps the other, here goes my arm again. There we go. So if we have people that, in our group, one helps the other and the other. That's what the East Indians do. That's why they do so well, because they help each other. And if we do that, eventually we all have a home, and we're warm because it's the same temperature summer and winter. We have our own powers, so we're independent little islands that can survive through all this pandemic stuff, all these weather problems. We can ride them out, and we will be the survivors. And the greatest gift we have, we're not only healing Mother Earth, we're healing ourselves at the time doing our program. We could write books, we can artwork, we can use the internet, we can get innovative and go and help other people in the other countries like Africa. We could get Bill Clinton, he's doing Haiti. I just sent an email to him, but he hasn't got back, but they're supposed to be on Easter break. But if I make enough noise, somebody will get back to me. So that's my dream. And so I'm going to start hitting the insurance companies, sell them the idea, and they could be lobbyists because there's enough of them. And they're into making money. That's the only thing. And if they can see they can and come out as being the good guys, where they're saving the world and helping the the First Nations, it's a win-win for them because they look like good guys. Because so far they don't look so good, and they're losing millions. So they say anytime somebody loses a home, they had the priority. They get a new home built for them, as if they do the earthship house. And then for every house that's done, they can give 10% of the towards our society, or the Earthship Society, and we could build up a reservoir so we have enough money to help the next person that can't really afford it, and the people that can afford it, we can all get to team and help them too.